have shuffled up, drawn the opening hands. They're going to have a look, see if we've got any keeps. It looks like John Wagner on the left of our screen does not like that hand. Up against Wesley Hickman on the right. Esper Pixies versus Is It Prowess? So the bugbear, the format. Is it going to hold up against this Esper Pixies deck? Kind of like two pillars of the standard format at the minute, I would say, like two of the bigger decks that people get drawn towards. How is this match meant to plan out on paper?
It's tough. I mean, I think that part of the reason we've seen a pretty big decline in Esper Pixie over, since the release of Tarkir Dragonstorm is because of this Is It Prowess matchup. I don't think that the Esper versions of Pixie are typically favored against Is It. You certainly can have draws that involve, turn one Hopeless Nightmare, turn two Pixie Nightmare, get their resources down, deal them some chip damage. But I think for the most part, as far as the Pixie decks, I would much rather be on the Orzhov side of things because that deck is playing 4 copies of main deck Temporary Lockdown, and John has 0 copies of main deck Temporary Lockdown. And yeah, really, it's the biggest issue too is the Esper Pixie deck does not really have a way to answer Corey Steelcutter on the battlefield. So
Mm-hmm.
if that card is in play, it's going to be in play for the entire game.
Like, let's just talk about that steel cutter. Like, we spoke about it a little bit yesterday in Modern. We saw quite a lot of copies actually was in the deck that, of course, was able to take it down in Is It Prowess. We're going to see it now in this Is It Prowess deck. This card is making a huge impact, waves across multiple different formats. Is that because the CMC now in Magic tends to be extremely low, or is it just in these 2 color combinations?
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, the mana base is a little awkward for this Esper Pixie deck as we see a turn 1 Storm Chaser's Talent here for John. Yeah, really just John is on the play, which is kind of interesting here.
Does that change things? I guess it's, against the aggro decks, it's always better when you're on the play and not letting them have that extra turn ahead, as we're going to see a Swift Spear come in here, connect for 1. But lovely little art there as well. Got to say, from winning yesterday, the showdowns, you get a token made in your likeness. So it's another reason to start turning up to these NRG events. Everyone wants a token made in their likeness because we all need that ego scratched a little bit more. Being able to hand them out to your friends when they play X amount of cards. Here, have this token. Oh, it looks like me.
Yeah, especially this weekend. We talked about how Corey Steelcutter is just all over the place. It was in, with 3 or 4 copies of Prowess in the top 8 of yesterday's event. It's, based on how many of it we have in the 2-0 bracket, it looks like that's probably going to be the same case here. And this would be the weekend to get your token because then you could just be the monk token, right?
There's the steel cutter that's going to come down, but then before the Swiss gets to get turned sideways, we're going to lock that down with the Drowner. I feel like you'd make a good monk token. I could just see you like your legs crossed, floating in the air in Zen with some sort of doom wake cloud above you or something. I
don't know about that. That I don't know if that's my style.
I'm down for it. I'm down for it. It looks like I turned my head for a second. Now there's a low more permanents on the board here for John Wagner. Looks like we had the follow-up of 2/1 drop enchantments. One of them being the Storm Chaser talents, and the other one being the Hopeless Nightmare. Of course, ETB opponent discards cards and loses 2 life.
Yeah, this is kind of the perfect start here for John. John was in the play, was able to get on the battlefield first with the talent, and followed that up into Drowner the Swiss Spear, and then a little bit more pressure combined with the Nightmare next turn. But Wesley has the dreaded double Corey Steelcutter start, and now this is interesting, right? Because Wesley has 3 creatures in the battlefield, could potentially start racing. But with John at 19 and Wesley at 11, I actually think that Wesley is maybe better off not trying to be the aggressor here and just using the prowess tokens to trade for some of John's permanents or cards in hand. And I think that because the Corey Steelcutter can make 2 additional creatures every single turn, maybe that's a little bit more beneficial. But Wesley decides, you know what? Nah, we're getting there.
It kind of looks like play draw, right? Like I agree with you. I think maybe I'll be on the defense here as well. But that purely if this was flipped around and we were on the play over on Wesley's side, like this would just be an absolute hosing of being able to get pressure, damage across. And it looks like we're just going to take it over on John's side. And he's kind of agreeing with you. He's like, well, I think I can win this race.
Yeah, I mean, I could envision like a turn here for John where he gets to go Pixie, bounce the Nightmare, Nightmare, put Wesley to 9, have 3 2-power creatures, attack for 6. Wesley, I guess, can trade the Swift Spear for the Flood Pits Drowner. That could, get in there for still get in for 4. That would put Wesley to 5. Yeah, I mean, I guess this kind of makes sense, but going low, that's kind of the dangerous thing against this Pixie deck that has nightmares and pixies and whatnot. And unfortunately, here for John, I don't think there was any follow up. I saw Kaido in his hand. Not exactly the card that you're looking for in this spot.
So if you think, one steel cut is good, two's really good.
Does he have a third?
I feel like that we might be seeing a third one momentarily,
Come on.
which would be pretty good being able to keep every turn potentially end up getting 3 extra 1/1s with prowess. Looks like we are going to start a turn up with another one. John didn't even
Good
flinch. Didn't
grief.
even flinch there. I like it. And of course, the kicker, everything with prowess gets a +1/+1 trigger as well. Here's the second one. Bounce one of those tokens back to your hand. That's the second spell. That's going to be 3 1/1 monks are going to be created. All these equipment are going to get attached to them as well. So now they're going to have haste and, of course, +1/+1 from it. The 4 creatures on the left have all had double prowess as well. You're good at math. How much is this?
This is an attack for 18 damage.
Is that good?
No, I mean, it's pretty good. So John, I guess, can chump block 2 of the 3s and take 12? And then have no outs anyways?
Then have
Yeah.
triple bolt in hand? No? One time? Oh,
Don't know if that's
Snapcaster?
enough. We have
All
an
right, 3
entity
mana.
tracker. Okay, so the entity tracker being a 2/3, that can, I guess, block one of the 2/2s. So entity tracker block a 2/2, chump one of the 3s, then you can take 13, go to 2, and then keep the Flood Pits Drowner. Basically, John's only out at this point. We're trying to do some math here, right? Let's assume that John gets insanely lucky and goes, draw Hopeless Nightmare, cast Nightmare, trigger off tracker, draw Nightmare, cast Nightmare, trigger, draw Nightmare. That would be 6 damage plus he would need 2 creatures in play for lethal. That's how he gets to 10, and he has to draw all 3 nightmares in order to do that.
Oh, easy. I'm trying to think
Yeah,
if there's any other
surely, right?
way.
I mean, hey, look, if you think about it this way, Wesley can draw 3 Core Steel Cutters. Why can't John draw 3 Hopeless Nightmares?
That
Right?
is
Like,
that is true. You gotta have them in your deck to be able to draw them. I am actually looking at the deck. You have literally found the only line, I think, my friend.
yeah, and I think John's realizing that too. Yeah, just take 13, go to 2, and then if there's 3 Hopeless Nightmares on top of your deck, you win. That would be quite a moment for coverage if
I'm about
that
to say,
actually
God, I
happens.
hope there is, just for my your sake, and like
Oh,
get ready for that pop. But gonna go to damage. If we
I'm
add it
ready
up
for it,
right,
Will.
we are gonna
I'm
go
ready
down to
for it.
2.
Yeah, I guess chump block with the Drowner is better because that means the prowess token with double night. Actually, is double nightmare lethal? Oh,
Right.
double
God
nightmare is
deck
lethal.
knocks it.
We only need 2.
Look.
We don't even
Oh,
need 3 because 2 would mean the prowess token's 3 plus 2 from the tracker is 5 plus 4 from the 2 nightmares. That's 9. No.
it looked like, yeah, like the way he was moving fast. I was like, "Have we got something? We doing it? We doing it?" No, that was just too much pressure there from Wesley. Well, we get to have a little look at the 75 that they brought. So let's get John's deck on the screen. They're going to be a game down here, so he needs to battle back, take this one to get us to a game number 3. That's the sideboard. What do you like, Doom?
Yeah, so as you saw that game, Corey Stillcutter, believe it or not, it's a powerful magic card. And as we mentioned, John really doesn't have any ways to interact with it on the battlefield in game 1. So you would assume that there's something in the sideboard here. And John does have a couple of tools. So the Lorraine of the Third Path, that's a nice way to be able to remove the cutter, can also kind of pick that up with Pixie. The temp lockdowns, those are fantastic. Also, this is sort of similar to what we were talking about earlier with the Orzhov Pixie deck, where you can lock down a battlefield and then later on, Pixie reset the lockdown, replay it again to kill the stuff they play after the first lockdown. So it gets the second wave as well. So those are good. And I think the discard spells as well to get the cutter out of the hand before it starts going off are pretty good.
All right, interesting. Well, Players are still shuffling up at the minute, so maybe we can have another little look at the leaderboard if we've got that production. If we can have a see how everyone was getting on after yesterday.
Oh, we
Oh,
got
oh,
Wesley's deck.
oh!
How
I
could
was
we
told
forget?
we only had one deck list. It's all good. It's
Psycho.
fine. All right, let's have a look at this. This is obviously the powerful Is It Prowess deck. Was able to take down Modern yesterday. This is the standard twist on it. I know this is one of your favorites, Doom. So talk me through it. How would you be sideboarding with this sideboard?
It is, yeah. I absolutely love this deck. Wesley actually has some interesting tools here that not a lot of people are playing. I want to highlight specifically the Eddie Crabs. That is a card that has been picking up a little bit in popularity, but not everybody is sort of drawn towards it yet. But the idea is that, especially in post board games, when you expect your opponent to have more answers to cutter and more lockdowns and more ways to clean up the battlefield, Crab is a nice way to present a cheap-ish threat later into the game that doesn't die to those kill spells, doesn't die to any red damage spells, lockdown, cut down, any of that stuff. So I think those might be coming in here alongside the Ral Crackling Wits, because if Wesley is expecting a lot of lockdowns and cutter answers in the post board games, he needs to sort of diversify his threats a little bit more. And I think he's going to want to board out the slick shots. Those are kind of awkward against nowhere to run. So we'll probably get those out of the deck for, the crabs and the rals. Past that, you could maybe consider something like Spell Pierce for a lockdown if you expect there to be a bunch of those. Maybe the Sunspine links because John's mana base is a little awkward. But past that, again, just diversifying threats, and from there, depending on what Wesley wants to cut, can kind of pick and choose from there.
All right, well, let's get right down to the match, see how the players are getting on, shuffling up. Looks like they're just coming to the end of it. We'll draw on the opening hands soon. So, talk to me, Merc Crab. At what point in the draft would you actually draft that card?
I didn't draft Bloomburrow, so I have no idea.
Really? Oh, okay. Well, I
tell me, is it good?
It's like a pack 2, pick 7, I'd say, something like that.
Okay.
I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, this might go into my deck. It's not too bad. It will do. It does the job. I have drafted it, to be fair. Not that I'm very good at drafts, so don't really take that as as you will. I am not a drafter. Don't do anything I say. If anything, do the opposite of what I say. As now we're going to start drawing opening hands. John is going to be on the play. Uphill battle, needs to win 2 games back to back to get that record to a 3-0. Wesley, well, just has to keep doing what they're doing. Keep winning with this. Is It Prowess deck? Keep drawing 3 steel cutters.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
get the game done.
How many cutters do you think Wesley's going to draw this game?
Now, which art
Surely
steel
not
cutters do you
3,
use?
right?
In paper, do you use the normal ones or do you use the alternate art ones?
Well, I bought the normal ones because they were cheaper.
All right, I'll speak to the team. I'll see if we can get you paid a bit more, mate. And maybe you can start getting some of those fancy cards.
I will
start with
say,
a dress.
I did get my cutters before they spiked. I think I paid $2 a piece. So,
bargain. All right, we get to look at the opening hand here. I see a couple of spells, no creature. We've got a Monstrous Rage, Sleight of Hand, Floodmore, and can't make out what that other card is.
Tree Catcher.
Oh, is it? Oh, we do have a creature.
Yep, Tree Catcher. So
interesting
that actually came in from the board. This is something that I wasn't 100% sure of whether or not Wesley was going to board it in, because it does kind of line up awkwardly against Nowhere to Run if you tap out for it on turn 2. But, if you can set up a spot where you can play it on turn 3 with a mana up to get the prowess trigger, that'll get it outside of range of Nowhere to Run. But I do want to mention, this is kind of the awkward part about the discard spells, is they're mainly in there for cutter, right? But if you duress your opponent and you see their hand that doesn't have a cutter in it and they just draw the cutter the next turn, as the old adage goes, you can't duress the top of the deck.
You definitely can't. And the fact that we didn't do anything on turn 2, maybe we were meant to do it on turn 2, hold it back on us, and we get to look at another card, potentially, so if that top card was. But looks like we did have something to do. Flash in the 2-1. Start getting the beatdown plan going. If we can control the board, we're getting bits of chip damage in. Maybe that's the line to victory here for John. I imagine we attacked there.
And what's interesting, I want to go back to that last turn. Wesley had the option to play the Drake Hatcher, drew the Slick Shot show off, and chose to plot the Slick Shot instead of playing the Hatcher. And I think that is kind of what I was going back earlier
Mm.
about. Wesley is really respecting that nowhere to run, and now you're going to see him play the Hatcher, holding up mana to be able to protect the Hatcher against the nowhere to run. He's probably not going to play the Slick Shot this turn. He's just going to say, well, I have, no matter if you have the nowhere to run, I'm not going to give you a good target for it. And sort of like essentially burning John's mana unless he has something like an entity tracker to play.
Yeah, he's playing this pretty well, especially when it's semi face up from that duress that we saw. And at the minute, he hasn't played into either kind of trap that John set, but maybe John just needs to use the mana up, as you said. And we are going to play the nowhere to run.
Interesting. This is a very interesting play because I think John had an Anoint with Affliction in hand. So could have actually anointed the Hatcher and made sure that it was going to die through the Monstrous Rage, but instead chose to get Wesley to tap out. Very, very interesting line here for John.
Well, we're going to use Pixie. We're going to bounce it back, and then we're going to use it. So
It's
maybe we wanted a target to bounce, maybe?
it's entirely possible that John said, "Okay, I don't mind trading my nowhere to run for the monstrous rage because if John knows he wants to tap out next turn anyways to play the pixie and the 2 mana removal spell, then John says, "Okay, well I can trade the nowhere to run, get the rage out of your hand, and then I'm not as scared about the slick shot on the follow up turn."
3 mana here. This is going to be a stock up. Top 5, pick 2, the best 2 in this current moment into our hand. Put the rest in the bottom of our library. I
I
see
think
a Swift Spear in there. I see a Row, I think.
I think it's Swiss Spear, Ral, Rage, Cantrip, Land. I'm guessing you probably want to take at least the Ral, and then I think maybe the Cantrip. So I think from Wesley's point, you want to, at this point in the game, we want to maybe try to clear the battlefield and then set up a turn where we can play Ral on an empty battlefield. So Cantrip, find a kill spell, start clearing off these flyers, and then you can safely deploy the Ral.
Yeah, it was. I believe it was an Ops that was found as well as that Row. So you're nail on the head. Over on John's side, hasn't been turning anything sideways yet. It's been holding back, respecting the slick
Yeah,
shot.
definitely afraid of that slick shot. I would be too.
I say the card's crazy because maybe we're really brainwashed from seeing how powerful that is in modern. And it's like, well, we just got to hold it back. Not as powerful here in standard, but still extremely good threat.
Now's the turn we can attack with one. And here's the thing, too. Both players know that there's a nowhere to run in John's hand, and John still, even with the nowhere to run, is still respecting the slick shot enough to hold back another blocker.
There's talents for the turn, still holding up the 2 mana for the nowhere to run that Wesley knows about.
Ooh. I think that was a cat picked up here for Wesley.
I'm looking to see which creature type, which one's a cat now.
Sunspine Links.
Oh, elemental cat. Here comes the Row.
Yeah, see, this is the awkward part about Ral. It's like the Ral it's a good card for sure, but it's a little dangerous to play on this battlefield because what John has 3 creatures in play, and I don't believe Wesley has a Floodmaw. And yeah, so kill, and we knew about the kill spell, so that was face up.
But now it's out of the grip. 2 cards in hand here for where? Oh, wrong. 3 cards now here for John.
Yeah,
Having
now
a
any
feint.
non-creature spell will get the prowess the order to 2/2, which means that'll be 6 damage coming at the Ral. Even if Wesley plays a cantrip to put a 6 loyalty counter on it, it still would die. So John really needs to find a spell here that he can cast, or else Wesley's going to untap with this Ral. Okay, well, never mind. We did have a Floodmaw.
That's it. That works just as well.
Yeah, I didn't see the Floodmaw in Wesley's hand. Okay, that makes this play a lot safer now because you were able to bounce the token. Now Wesley can just untap with the Ral, and I don't know if you've played with Ral Crackling Wit, but that card, when you untap with it, it can get out of hand pretty quickly.
I have not. Why can it get out of hands quickly? What's the uniqueness of it?
So it sort of has built-in storm where
Mhm.
every time you play a non-creature spell, you put another loyalty counter on it. So with all of these cantrips like sleight of hands and ops, it's very easy to just chain through and find a whole bunch of spells to get the RAL to a very, very high loyalty. And the ultimate is very close to -10, you win the game. I believe it gives all of it. You draw 3 cards, and it gives all of your instants and sorcery spells storm.
Sounds pretty good. We're going to go with a stock up here. So that is an extra counter route. 2 cards to the grip to basically continue this chain because, it's really good when you cast it on spells, having a slick shot show off on the board as well.
Yeah, now look at this, right? Wesley is casting another spell to get the RAL up to 5 loyalty. Now, John does have the ability to theoretically kill the RAL next turn because he can animate the anchorage. That's 6 power in the air.
Mhm.
But, that's John's entire turn, and he has to tap out, which means that if he doesn't have a kill spell for the slick shot here, not only is he taking 7 damage, he's also, at the risk of having to tap out next turn just to be able to kill the RAL.
We do have a way of stopping it from this attacking us. So the drone's going to come down, put the stone counters on it. We ticked up the row that made the otter, got us another card deeper. Now, what can John do here? Can we amass enough spells to get this row off? Is row that important that we need to get rid of it? So besides the going
Yes.
face, we cannot leave it on the board. No.
No, especially on 6 loyalty, there is I mean, I guess it's gonna take at least 4 damage this turn, but, I mean, you see, like, that last turn, for example, Wesley untapped with Ral on 2 loyalty. He
Mhm.
then passed the turn with it on 6, and if John doesn't kill the Ral this turn, the same thing's gonna happen next turn. He's just gonna churn through a whole bunch of cantrips and stock ups, and the Ral is if you don't kill it immediately or, like, when you have the opportunity to, it's just gonna be the same thing over and over again.
I think John might be agreeing with you. So we are going to animate our creature land here. Give us 4 attackers. All of them are going to go at Ral. We can trade with the Drowner if we want on Wesley's side, but I think he's more than happy just to let that happen. That's cool. That's fine. Because now you're tapped out and you've only got 1 creature back on defense. I've still got this slick shot. I've still got this, even though the slick shot is going to be tapped from that last stun counter.
And Wesley set this up beautiful, right? Because Wesley, if hypothetically, if that slick shot could have connected last turn, that would have been 7 damage to John. And with the Sunspine links in hand, that would have been very, very close to wrapping it up. But John did have the flood pits last turn, and that was kind of the perfect answer for John because that not only meant he wasn't taking 7, but also gave him an additional blocker for this turn, just in case there was a Swiss spear or something like that.
Sleight of hand, that's first trigger. Then talents is going to come down next. Give us another art token. This one cannot be attacking this turn, but we're going to get in there twice. This is 3 plus 8, 5, so 8 total.
Yeah, currently 8. If Wesley has a cantrip, every additional spell represents minimum 3. So rage would be 6, a cantrip would be +3. So let's assume both of those. That's plus 11. 11 plus 8 is 19. So not quite.
Monstrous Rage is just a nightmare to play around, isn't it? Like if you got it, I block it with my 2/1. Yeah, it's normally fine, but Monstrous Rage means I'm basically just stopping 1 damage. You'll be able to go in over the top of it. Well, remember that is the Monstrous Rage. That's the worst case scenario for John here. That's going to represent an extra 6 points of damage.
3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minus 1 is 6 plus 7. I think this is an attack for 13. John should be going to 7, I believe. Yeah.
Hold. He's got it. That's 3 for 3. You've been with math now.
Look, when
Frank,
it comes to the prowess deck, I'm good at math.
Frank Carson's going to have to watch out, mate. I tell you.
And look at this battlefield, right? John was ahead for a couple of turns, right? Where he
Hmm.
had the pig had that turn where he went nowhere to run, untap, play the second creature, start pressuring the RAL a little bit. But now this battlefield has just gotten completely out of control here for John. And then oh well, never mind, I lied.
Oh no, temper
Lock it
lockdown
up,
coming down,
lock
taking
it
everything
up.
off. Well, play this, get in there for 1. This is a 7-turn clock.
And that was a really crucial hopeless nightmare from John because Wesley, the last card in hand for Wesley was that Sunspine Links. That was a huge nightmare.
What was the card that took it out of his hand? I'm trying to look. Was it the Steel and Oil?
No, Hopeless Nightmare.
Um, oh,
Why is the Hopeless Nightmare
what,
in the
that's
graveyard?
what I'm thinking. I'm like, why
The
did it go to the
Hopeless Nightmare
graveyard?
should be under the lockdown. Yeah, they just realized it. Okay.
There you go.
I was like, how did that get to the graveyard?
That's why I was thinking. I was like, is this the Steel and Oil? Was it a
Yeah, yeah.
spell? Some alternate art? Oh, that's not a bad one when you're both top decking. Getting the Overlord of the Merc to have a little mill 4, put a creature back into our hand. We know how good this can be in modern. In standard, it's making a few waves, and here it's going to look great.
Yeah, very heads up from John too. Had the option to get like sort of greedy and just cast it for 5 mana, but recognizes that, Wesley's out here is just cantrip, kill you with slick shot. So wants to be able to pick up that Flood Pits Drowner.
So Drowner, that could put stun counters on it. But that's only like, I say it's going to give us more draw stats, but it's also going to give Wesley more time to get back in this game. It is closed deck list, so John doesn't know, but there is no more elemental cats floating around because that would represent 5 damage currently, I believe, to John's face. And when you get 6, that is not what you want to happen. So have a little count. How
Wesley
many?
wouldn't mind drawing the second Ral. Second Ral would be nice here.
I believe we've hit that to the bottom with the stock up.
Oh, did we? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So what other good like top decks we've got here? Always Steel Cutter. Let's be honest.
Stock up.
Stock, yeah, Steel Cutter, stock up.
Yeah, Steel Cutter is actually not that great here because Wesley doesn't have cards in hand. So the best it can, you know what I mean? He wouldn't even be able to trigger it this turn.
I'm just thinking of setting up. Like, I don't think,
Yeah.
unless we're talking about trying to win next turn, but we already know we can't do that because of the Drowner. So we're just going to pass the turn. Overlord goes 4. That's a land off the top. That's not ideal. We'll let this get tapped down. Pass the turn. Keep the land in hand. That's smart because, if we do draw a card that we want to cast a little bit later on, we need some sort of fodder if any more nightmares are going to come down.
Well, it's weird because if you draw stock up, you might want the extra land in play to be able to like double spell. So it's a very
Okay.
close situation. Not sure what's correct here, but this is now a 2-turn clock with the map hitting the spell there.
Map, land, going to go to hand. Think we played land for the turn already? Question mark? No, we didn't. We could have. So we could have.
We did.
Oh no, because there's one land at the top, so we did 5 to 6, and that's going to be enough. John's going to be able to turn that back around, clutching from the claws of death. That's the sweeper. I'm literally having a mind blank already. The temporary lockdown. That's the one.
Lock
at the sideboard. Absolutely key, critical there, stopping Wesley from literally taking the game down and out of his grasp. But for us and for everybody at home, we get a game number 3. So we've got the deck lists. Let's have one more look. Let's remind ourselves. Let's have a look at Wesley's side. Of course, lost that one, so we'll now be on the play on the powerful Is It Price deck. Do things change now on the play to post to draw?
I don't think so. I mean, we saw the Rel and the Sunspine links. Those are cards that we highlighted during sideboarding before as we're coming in. We didn't see any Anti-Mer Crabs, but I do think it makes sense to board those in against the lockdowns. And then, interestingly enough, we saw the Drake Catcher, and I wasn't convinced that one was going to come in. Maybe it's a play draw thing, where maybe he'd rather have it on the draw but not the play. But yeah, I think for the most part, Wesley is probably going to be looking to do the same thing.
Let's flick it back to John and let's see what got in that sideboard and what we did see and what we didn't see. We saw Duresses, we saw temporary lockdowns, we saw the Overlord. So let's just say we bring all those in. That's 5 cards at least at the minute. So you'd want to probably think that the Beza might be coming in. So how many bad cards are we taking out on this deck in the main?
So some of the slower card advantage stuff like Kaido and Entity Tracker, you usually don't have a lot of time for those against the prowess deck. So I would guess that John probably cut those 5. Past that, you maybe could trim a Fear of Isolation if you feel like you have too much bounce. You just don't have, as much time to cast 2 of those. Or you already have the Pixies and the Kirans and the Towns. So maybe you can shave on some of those bounce spells. So I would say the 5/3 drops and maybe 1 Fear of Isolation. So that's 6 coming out. And then you figure the Lorian, the Beza, the 2 Duresses, the Dreams, and the Lockdowns. That's 7. So maybe just cut both Fear of Isolations.
All right, interesting. That's in the mind of the wake. Let's get back down to the match, see how we're getting on, shuffling up between both our players. Wes is going for a little bit of a power shuffle here. Are you a power shuffler, or have you got any sort of fancy shuffling technique, or are you just someone that mashes them together?
Nah, man, I used to be a pile shuffler, and then I honestly, and maybe this is just my opinion, but I personally think that pile shuffling is a waste of time because it doesn't actually randomize your deck. It's mostly just for counting. But usually I just do like at the end of the game, I'll do a quick count just to like make sure that I got 60 there. Cause there was actually a situation where I was playing at an RC. I can't remember which one. I think it was Atlanta Pioneer. And I sit down for I think it was like round 6 or round 7, and I pile my deck and I have 59 cards. And I piled it again and I have 59 cards again. And I called the judge. I was like, can I, can
Go
I
find
figure
the
this
card.
out? I figured out what it was, but I went back to the table that I was at previously. Card wasn't there. The judge says, "Okay, you got 10 minutes." And I was like running around the room asking. It was a Huntsman's Redemption, and like it was just this random card that nobody had. But like right around the 10-minute mark, right as I was about to get a game lost, somebody came over and was like, "Here, I got you." And I ended up winning that match, which was hilarious.
Jeez, right. Both players going down to 6 here. I do remember I did coverage of an event in it's like Copenhagen or somewhere like that, and blindly round one picks the feature match. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
six, 700 players in the room blindly picked the round one feature match, and it was modern, so it was Hammer Time versus I don't know, like Racto Scam or whatever it was, and they both players shuffle up, draw their opening hands, play the match, plays a Stoneforge Mystic, looks through their deck, realizes they have no hammers in their deck. Like it's like
Oh my
Judge
god.
called it. Did the same thing that you did. They had 10 minutes to go find these hammers. Oh no, it was a Coldra. They tried to find it. Tried to find Coldra. They
Ah,
went
okay.
got a Coldra, put it in the deck, shuffled up, blah blah blah. Carried on with the next game.
Yeah.
Same thing happened again when
No
Stoneforge went to
way.
go find a hammer. Realized there's no hammers in their decks.
Oh
Judge
my
stops the
god.
game. It counts the deck. They shuffled up and presented a 52 card deck, and I was just like, "What's the odds?" At the over 600 people in the room, I randomly picked the one deck that's got 52 cards. They were able to get it sorted, and they were able to keep playing for the weekend and stuff. But yeah, it was an
How do
awkward
you
round of Magic.
how do you play hammer and forget the hammers?
But I don't know. Okay, some
That's
people
like if you were that's like if you're playing Splinter Twin and you just showed up with a 52 card deck that didn't have 4 Deceivers or 4 Splinter Twin. Like,
I don't know, but it was a good story. And we're off to the races here. Wesley's going to start off with the powerful one drop saga. So that's going to come down, bring yourself an art token. And the follow up is going to be addressed. Do we have a cutter?
show me
We
the
do
cutter.
have a cutter.
Ooh, but
Cutter
we have a
stock up.
cutter and a stock up. This is a pretty good hand for Wesley. This is 6 too. Yeah, this is a good 6 for Wesley.
What'd you take?
I mean, you got to take the cutter for sure. I think. Maybe it depends on John's hand. Like if John has a lockdown, maybe you're slightly more incentivized to take the stock up. But then if you do that, Wesley has the Pierce for the lockdown anyways, so that could run into an awkward spot. So I think you just take the cutter and figure it out from there. But John has given this one a think.
Yeah, don't want to make any mistakes, especially like when you're on coverage, you can watch it back and you can see if you did something right or if it would have panned out differently. I think I agree taking the cutter here. It can generate way too much value the longer the game goes for Wesley. Plays the man, gets in there for 1 point with the aura.
I was really hoping Wesley drew a second cutter there.
You want to see the world burn, don't you? You know what I mean?
I just love it when discard spells are just one vampiric tutor, because they usually are for my opponents.
3 mana. Here's the stock up. One price trigger. Look at top 5. One of those is a cutter. I also see a slick shot shop in there, a land, an opt, and I didn't get a look at the 5th card. Might have even been another stock up.
Yeah, I think maybe a sleight of hand. I think so. Wesley's hand right now is opt spell pierce. I think you just take cutter sleight of hand because I want more cantrips because that's kind of like you have the double spell next turn rolled up with cutter cantrip, but then ideally what ends up happening is that Wesley cantrips into an untapped blue source makes the Cutter token, attacks, holds up Spell Pierce for lockdown next turn, and then from there can kind of, progress with the other cantrip.
Okay, let's see if he agrees. And I think he did agree. I think I saw that was Cutter and the sleight of hand going to the grip. Yep, it was. It's gone out of here. -3, -3 is going to happen to that. Nowhere to run coming in. Then here comes our third land drop as we pass it back to John. I'm just going to pass the turn back to Wesley.
Yeah, it looks like John's hand is super reactive. I think I saw like two more nowhere to runs and a bounce spell. It might have been a fear of isolation. So a lot of ways to interact, and that stuff is normally good against prowess. But when it comes to Cutter, like trading 1-for-1 with the
Ooh.
Cutter tokens is really brutal because they're just going to make more tokens every single turn.
Yeah, not happy about that from John. Saw the little shake of the head there. Sleight of hand is going to be our second spell. So that is going to make the token, but we're going to give that a nowhere to run. So as you said, basically John Wesley's doing his thing, keeping that card advantage high, turning burner for his deck and gaining incremental value with these 1/1 monk tokens, where John has to use cold hard cards to deal with them, not where he wants to be.
Yeah, and I believe Wesley took a land over a monstrous rage. Love that, especially given the fact that you have the spell pierce in hand, so you want to be able to hold that up, and you kind of just want more mana for next turn, so you can go cantrip maybe into a 2 mana card, and then still be able to hold up the spell pierce.
Here it comes. This is the Drake, right? The
Fear of isolation. Yep.
the nightmare.
Yeah, so that one is actually going to pick up a land for John. So that signifies to Wesley that maybe John has another spell he wants to cast this turn, maybe like another nowhere to run.
That was an opt off the top. We're going to lead off the turn casting it. Scry 1, then draw a card. Where's this having a think? I think we've only got 2 cards now free, so likes that. Follow up is going to be 2 mana. It's going to be another
Ooh.
cutter. So that's going to trigger the first one. But this doesn't work how we want it to, right? Yes, this is the
No.
second spell that's cast, but it doesn't mean that the one that's just about to enter gets a trigger at all.
Correct. Yeah. So Wesley can sort of pop off next turn. And again, that spell pierce, face up information. So I don't think John has the lockdown, but even if he did, it wouldn't be good enough because both players know about that spell pierce.
Not going to get in there. This is that another nowhere? It is a nowhere.
Yeah.
Triple nowhere. Get rid of the token. Fine. Whatever. It was a free token anyway.
Yeah. And you see there, Wesley had the option to spell pierce that, but he just doesn't care because he's just going to make 2 more of those next turn. The only card he ever wants to spell pierce in this matchup is exactly Temp Lockdown. Any of these 1-for-1 kill spells, he just does not, it just doesn't matter.
We get in there for 2 over on Wesley's side. Land drop for the turn and pass back. That's an opt drawn for the turn. It's a great way to start off. Try and potentially get some of these triggers going. So opt, scry 1.
And you're always happy to draw a 1 mana cantrip in this deck. There, believe it or not, there were when this deck first started, when people started first playing the prowess deck, they were playing less than 8 cantrips, and I think people quickly realized that no, we got to play 8 of these because you just want to draw more of them every turn.
I think that's just every blue player's dream, right? Like if you register a
Well,
blue
especially
deck,
when you have Cutter.
yeah, kind of get to sort of turbo accelerate this out. Looks like we might have found another one. We did opt into opt, so this is where we get double triggers, and the 2 monks are going to enter. They're both going to be equipped with the steel cutter. Now we get to scry 1, draw a card. Don't like that one, so blind draw off the top. It was just a land. That's good for John.
Yeah, so the leftovers, we know about the Pierce. I don't know that Wesley has another spell in hand. I think
I
it
think
might just be the Pierce. Is it the
I think we
fourth
got 2.
nowhere?
No way, it is the 4th of nowhere. We're going to use the
Whoa.
Pierce on that. I suppose if we get into the realms of 5th land drop,
Very
lockdown,
surprised we spell pierce that. Yeah, I guess that's a good point. If John has been sandbagging the lockdown and just draws a 5th land, that's a good point. And did draw a 5th land too, so
was he using? Oh, Rouse the last card in hand.
that's not bad.
That's a good follow up.
Yeah, even without a cantrip in hand, Wesley could also level up the Storm Chaser's Talon, get back either Opt or Sleight of Hand, and then use that to try and find the second 1 mana spell next turn.
So we're bouncing here. We're going to bounce a token, bounce the nowhere to run back to the grip. Draw, just another land.
Yeah, so now for Wesley, couple of options here. You could go towards Ral, try to minus the Ral and find some more 1 mana spells to play there. You could use the talent to pick up a cantrip, and then the cantrip could potentially find you another 1 mana spell to play this turn. I think I lean towards the Ral, but it's kind of close. Okay, we're gonna go for talent here.
So talent 4 mana. We're going to level that up. Return a instant or sorcery from our graveyard to our hand. It's going to be a sleight of hand. That's the second. No,
I
it's the
think it was
first
a
spell. Sorry.
land and a stock up, I think.
Stock up's a good one, just not this turn. But for
It's
two
not a
mana,
stock up.
we do have a.
Oh.
Did we do? Is that the crab?
That is the crab. That's a pretty good. It looked like a stock up to me, but no, it was actually a crab, and that's a good find because that's going to mean that's actually massive because now we can tap the fear of isolation, and the new cutter tokens can just attack pass through that. That's kind of crazy.
Well, we also get to tap 2 creatures, right?
Yeah, well, we're gonna tap the fear.
Oh, you're thinking through the. Yeah, okay, I get you now.
Yeah, we can just tap it, and then we don't have to worry about it being a blocker.
Me being idiotic, because we're thinking about the. Yeah, no extra prize trigger. This is a creature.
Yeah, so the crab's going to come down, tap the fear of isolation. John can fire off the nowhere to run in hand, and then take 4, go to 11.
Take one of the ones that's already equipped. Makes sense. Passes back. Needs something big. Off
John
the
needs
top
to
of the deck
draw a
now.
discard.
Lockdown would be good. Well, lockdown would help here. Good.
That is not a discard. That is a concealed courtyard.
So now the Rowl coming down as well as a follow up. Basic mountain off the top of the deck.
Yeah, very high likelihood that Ral can find a spell to cast with 3 mana left over because Wesley has 7. So even if we don't play the land from hand, Ral discard 2 lands. That would still give us 3 left over to cast basically anything.
Yeah, that's a row off the top. First power trigger going to come in with 4 loyalty. We are going to tick that down. So we're going to draw 3, discard 2, land, and
Oh,
oh, it was a sleight of
that
hand
was
with
a
the last one.
spell. Is that a slight?
Yeah, I believe so. There's the
Okay.
sleight of hand. Anything whiteboarded is basically sleight of hand at this point to me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Going to generate the extra monk tokens. The 2 on the right have got the prowess. Remember that crab itself is a huge crab with a 5/5
Okay.
body.
Found 2 lands. It's, I guess, good news for John.
Play a land, turn everything sideways? Question mark.
Yeah, I'm in. Like, I mean, he can profitably block one of the 2/2s, but then he's still taking 3, 6, 8, 13. No, he can't even do that. He actually has to chump block the crab here, I think. Chump block the crab, take 10 is your only out.
But then what's the out? Like,
Yeah, it's like even if you draw a lockdown, you still just lose to the crab anyways, and the Ral. So I don't think John has any way out.
no, but you can
Not
get the
that.
card, take the left. There's the handshake. We are going to see Wesley taking this one down. And it really showed the power of how good that steel cutter is in this deck, especially in multiples.
Yeah, Cutter is just absolutely insane. I mean, there was that one game that Wesley had, the game 1 where he had 3 of them, and it
Yeah.
was just absolutely out of control. I mean, the one game that John was able to take down was that game where he was able to clean everything up with lockdown. But when the games do not involve lockdown, it is very difficult to beat that Cutter card.
Well, that's why we brought the crab in, right? The crab is purposely for that, have diverse our threats to make it so there wasn't any outs there for him. Looks like we're getting Wesley in the booth for an interview. So let's get down to it with our winner, Wesley Hickman, taking that down. Congrats, my friend. You got Will and Devon in the booth. We're just going to ask you a couple of questions, and I'm going to kick it off with how good's that crab being? Because that looked pretty cool there.
Absolutely amazing. It comes in so many matchups. I found out about Eddie Merc being a possibility in this deck like 3 hours before Minneapolis started last week and severely regretted not registering it. It has won me like every game I've casted. It's good against aggro, the mirror, like black mid-range, tap bases, tap shieldreds, etc. Like I was just telling my opponent, bigger than no run to run. If you bounce it to my hand, I recast it with town and then it can't be locked down. So just like premium against their entire deck.
Yeah,
Sick.
and as you mentioned, just like against all of the cards that people are boarding in, they're going heavy on targeting cutter, like duresses and stuff, and that being able to
Right.
dodge that is pretty nice.
Right.
The other thing that I wanted to mention, and this is kind of a trend that's been happening a lot on Magic Online recently, is the inclusion of a lot more Drake catchers in the main, and you've decided to just go with the 4 slick shots and 1 Drake catcher in the sideboard. Talk me through that decision.
Yeah. So it's definitely some interesting logic here. People are putting in Drake catchers for this, really inbred meta of Is It Prowess being the best deck. It's, 33% plus Monster Strays decks, 33% plus of the room. It's nice to have a Vigilance Prowess creature, obviously. My thing is that I think that the difference between Drake Catcher and Slick Shot is enough versus the rest of the format where I still want 4 Slick Shots in my deck. So versus Abuelo's Domain, Pixie, I want to be killing people, not having, a 2-mana 1/3 without haste. Doesn't help you into the lockdown decks. And then also in the mirror, the difference between Slick Shot and Hatcher, I don't think is that great. Like Slick Shot's incredible. A lot of times people board out Burst Lightning. Even if they don't, you can still protect it with Monster Trade. So it's not like I have a bad card in my deck. I have Slick Shot Show Off in my Prowess deck. So yeah, that's my hot take on the meta. Is I'm sacrificing a few percent here for a lot better in other places.
You want to make them have the answer than have the answers yourself. I like
Right.
it. That's exactly how I play
Right.
Magic as well. Have you got it? Cool. Then we're going to
Yep.
keep playing. You don't have it, I'm going to win the game. What do you not want to play against with this Is It Prowess deck, though? Like, is there a deck that you are just trying to dodge that, you've come across, like you saw someone playing, I don't know, some crazy deck, and you're like, oh, I really don't want to play against that one because they bought it purposely just to beat up on this deck? Or is there a certain deck in the meta that you're trying to avoid?
Yeah, the entire meta is warped around Corey Steelcutter, so there are a few decks that are incredible against my deck. I think the best one's probably Black White Pixie in particular. That deck having an edge over normal Esper Pixie against us because they are scroll shifting their lockdowns at instant speed. They are sacrificing a lot of their blue card quality, not playing town, not playing talent for cards like scroll shift to blow out prowess. So hoping to dodge that, but you can also just draw enough Corys and it won't matter. You can still.
You're good at that. You were good at that in that
yeah,
match.
Really
that
good
was
at
awesome.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Number of Corys drawn equals high win rate for sure.
There you
Devin,
go.
next question.
I think you honestly asked the one that
Oh.
I was going to ask. The other thing I will mention is that and you sort of got on this trend too. Into the Flood Maw was a card that people were not necessarily picking up. I think it was the week before Bologna, but then after Bologna happened, everybody was on it. You got 3 in the main, and that card is just talk to me about that card.
You could play 4. You could play more. You could play bounce off. You could unsummon is an extremely good effect in this format. Even if you're thinking about the mirror, it is an answer to any creature in their deck through Monstrous Rage, as well as half the creatures in the mirror are tokens anyways. So just being better than a burn spell. I think Burst Lightning is like a necessary evil because there's mice decks and you have to play a high number of removal spells to compete with other slick shots and stuff. But if we could, I think we could just play all bounce spells and no burst lightnings if we could.
And I can sit here and listen to you all day talk about this. It's really, really interesting getting into that mind, but we are going to let you step away and have a break. So congratulations on that. 3-0 now, a couple more wins, and hopefully we get to see you in today's top 8.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, Devin. Shout out to all the moms and my mom for Mother's Day. So
Yes.
Oh, is it Mother's Day in America?
It is.
It is indeed. It is indeed.
I'm in the UK.
I hope everybody's
here.
going home and celebrate their moms after this.
Shout out to the mums out there. All right,
Yeah.
we're going to let you go. We're going to move back to the booth because this is going actually, I'm going to ask, do we have a backup feature match? Have we got any time shifted shenanigans going on production?
We're thinking.
No, we do not. Okay, it's going to be the end of round number 3 then, where we're going to step away, have a short break. And then when we come back, we've got round number 4 of 7 scheduled for today before we get to that top 8. So don't go anywhere. And we'll see you shortly.